learning.
Sorry, I just tried it. Now it's going on. My name is Esther Kelemen from the Environmental Social Science Research Group, and it's a privilege to share with you our third part of the Forwards webinar series. And just as we already said yesterday and the day before, Forwards is a Horizon project aiming to support climate smart forestry and forest restoration through Europe. And one of the major aims of the project is to set up the Forestward Observatory, which could function as a European observatory for forest climate change impacts. And to achieve this broad and general aim, there is a dedicated grant scheme. Now I think 2 or maybe 3 applications are already open. And one of these open grants are about citizen and stakeholder engagement. So this is the main reason behind organizing these webinars, to support those actors throughout Europe who consider to submitting an application to this grant scheme in what kind of tools, methods and approaches to use to plan their citizen and stakeholder engagement. And this is already our third webinar in the row, focusing mostly on the tools and methods which could be selected for a successful engagement process. And today, as the other days, we will listen to 2 presentations and we will have time for questions. And at the very end, we will have a Mentimeter exercise, partly to show you how such an interactive online tool works, and also partly to show how assessing or monitoring the impacts of an engagement activity can be organized easily and quickly. The 2 presentations for today will cover 2 different types of actors. So Barbara, in the first part, will share with you some tools which can be used for stakeholder engagement. However, the presentations yesterday also were on this topic, so it might not be so, novel for you. But the second presentation by Aine will be about tools to be used in citizen engagement. And you will see that in this case, when we would like to engage more with citizens, probably more creative, more inspirational tools are useful to choose. So that's the menu for today, and I give the word to Barbara.
Okay, thank you, Esther. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. So in the first presentation, I will say a few words and show some examples on tools and methods for stakeholder engagement. And my name is Barbara Mihok, and I'm working for the Environmental Social Science Research Group. And what is important just to note at the beginning is that what we present you here are all included in the Forwards stakeholder engagement strategy. And in Forwards, as Esther mentioned, the ultimate aim is to design the Forestward Observatory, a platform for knowledge exchange and monitoring system in Europe. So all the tools which are presented here aim to support this kind of co-designing, co-creating process. So what is also important to note is that the theoretical and practical foundations of these methodological approaches are participatory social science and its tools and methodology and theory, and also design thinking. So just referring back to Esther's presentation in the first webinar about the theoretical context of engagement, I would say that this is a very important and useful illustration for it. So when you design and plan an engagement activity, you have to decide what level of engagement do you want to achieve. You want to inform people, or you want to collaborate with stakeholders and empower them. Your chosen methodology depends on this decision. The other important overview or summary of this engagement activity planning is this table, also shown in the first webinar, which includes the practical steps of organizing an engagement process. So it is strongly recommended or suggested to go along these process, to make your decisions, to do your research, and then you will find the appropriate tools and methodology. So those engagement tools, which are presented here, are all included in the engagement strategy. And as you can see in this table, they are grouped along the level of engagement. So on the level of consultation, there you can see focus groups, key informant interviews, screening surveys. On the involvement level, there are brainstorming workshops, prioritization workshop, and visioning scenario building workshop. And the collaborate level can include co-designing workshop, co-learning workshop, and so on. What we reviewed yesterday as the 4-risk workshop, if you can remember in the second webinar, this online meeting about the disturbance risk management, this would, we could say that it was a focus group like engagement activities, while the second one, which was an offline engagement process presented by Esther, was about a scenario building workshop. So you could see 2 examples of these kind of engagement activities. And what we chose to present you today is a visioning workshop, which we organized for the Forwards Consortium project partners this spring in Berlin in our consortium meeting. And as you can remember, the Forwards project most important aim is to establish and build up the Forestward Observatory. So this visioning workshop aimed to design and to explore the scope of the Forestward Observatory. So we wanted to ask, how can we see the potential services and which can be useful for our potential stakeholders who would use this observatory? How would that serve the needs of these stakeholders? So this visioning workshop aimed to explore this vision. And 2 important element was part of the design of the workshop plan. One was, which I would say that it's a bit more like not very analytical. I would say it's more creative and imaginational and right hemisphere approach. One was the so-called role play, which meant that during this visioning workshop, we asked the participants to imagine themselves as different types of stakeholders, and then we used the information and their visioning as an input for the exercise. And the other element of this approach was the 2030 vision, so an imagination of how life can go in 2030, and we used that as well as an input for the visioning workshop. So the workshop, it was a 2-hour long workshop, and I listed here the draft the agenda of the workshop. So we started with an introduction. We presented the main stakeholder groups, for example, forest manager, policy actors, for which the Forestward Observatory can be useful. And we also presented their so-called persona profiles. So their profiles, how these different stakeholder groups, what kind of needs they can have, what is their job description about, and so on. And we also presented an imaginary 2030 context, which I would like to read for you, just to feel the vibe of it. So the instruction and the description of this context was the following. We are in the spring of 2030. In the last couple of years, there have been several changes at EU policy level which influenced forest management decision. First of all, the restoration law passed the parliament several years ago, so there is now an increased pressure on member states and land users to restore degraded land and conserve high nature value habitats, including forests. Additionally, a new forest monitoring law was launched, and so on and so on. In the meantime, climate change impacts on forests have worsened everywhere in Europe, urging forest-related stakeholders to apply better strategies to disturbance risk management. Luckily, an online platform, the Forestward Observatory, was launched 3 years ago, where interactive data sets, maps, forest management guidance, and best practice examples on climate-smart forestry and restoration are available in different EU languages. So that was the little kind of imagination play read for the participants. And then after they heard these description, we asked them to form groups. And in the groups, here is the instruction. Imagine that you are a group of forest managers, for example, coming together from different parts of Europe. And then in your group discussion, let's discuss how the Forestward Observatory can help your everyday work. So do you use the Forest Observatory for your work? How does the observatory support your work? Which functions and products of the observatory do you use? And rate the overall relevance of your stakeholder group as the potential user of the observatory. So all these, especially the last two section outcome, was documented in the Miro board, so an online platform. And after this group discussion and the documentation of these two last replies and data was collected, then we had a group presentation and a summary. So what was the outcome of this workshop? You don't have to read all the text on these little post-its, just I show you this so you can have an impression of what we received from this exercise. So what we received is a matrix. In the first column, you can see the different stakeholders, forest managers, EU-level actors, and on the row at the top, there you can see first the relevance, which was estimated or scored by the participants. So how relevant is that stakeholder group for the Forestward Observatory as a potential user? And also we started to collect and to summarize the potential services functions which were articulated, which were expressed through these exercises in the group discussions. So as you can see, we had a lot of textual data, a lot of information, layered information according to the stakeholder groups. So it is quite a rich outcome with a lot of content, which can be used for in the co-designing process when we meet the real stakeholders, and then to process with the co-design co-designing development. So just to check back, so this is again the question of your decision, what you have to make, what kind of level of engagement and what is the aim of your engagement activities. So this is a summary of all the tools, which you can read about more in details in the engagement strategy. And also it's very important that after the whole engagement activity is completed, don't skip the evaluation. So try to get feedback from your stakeholders, how they evaluate and how they score these, how useful was it for them through the process. Okay, thank you very much. And now I give the floor to Aine, who will talk about the citizen engagement tools.
Okay. Thank you, Barbara, and thank you, Esther. Yes, so I am Aine Parlade. I'm from Boko University. So I'm a junior researcher working on the citizen engagement component of the Forwards project. And I'm here to give an overview of some of the tools that you can use to engage citizens. So next slide, please. Okay, so first things first, what do we mean by citizens? So during the first day of the webinar, Esther and Barbara has already explained the basic principles of stakeholder and citizen engagement. And basically, we understand citizens as special stakeholders. So this includes local communities that live in or nearby the forests, who might have an indirect impact on the outcomes of our forest management activities, but who are not in a decision-making position when it comes to forest management. So next slide, please. And why do we need to engage citizens? So citizens bring diverse values, beliefs, perspectives about forests and their management. And these are crucial for enriching or making our decision-making more comprehensive. And also citizens can contribute to conservation effort activities like tree planting, for example, or if you're doing some citizen science projects, citizens can also contribute to data collection or data gathering. So it helps us increase the capacity to implement our our forestry projects, particularly in resource constrained settings. Additionally, when we incorporate local and practical knowledge, it enhances the relevance and accuracy of our forestry practices. And then finally, when it comes to empowerment and learning, of course, when we empower citizens through engagement and education, we build a knowledgeable and motivated community. So engagement activities that often include educational components enhance the citizens' understanding of forestry issues and build skills in environmental management. So next slide, please. Thank you. So you've seen this figure since day one. So just some tips to effectively engage citizens. So it's important that we clearly define the goals and objectives of our engagement activity. We understand the local context and adopt the tools based on the needs of the community. And of course, we should also do monitoring and evaluation, just as Barbara mentioned. And finally, we identify ways to sustain the engagement. Next slide, please. So I will take more time to talk about this. So what are the creative tools that we can use to engage citizens? So effective citizen engagement is key to fostering a well-informed and proactive community. So the tools that we have listed here are broadly categorized based on their primary function, whether it is to inform, consult, involve, or collaborate with the public. So this includes traditional and digital approaches to spread information. Nowadays, we can use Mentimeter or Slido to engage with the members of the audience when we do online webinars. And then we can also do traditional ways of information campaigns like setting up pop-up booths or information boards or community parades. And these on-the-ground events are good for visibility and easier name recall of our projects, especially when you're promoting new concepts, new projects. And then virtual forest field trips are also nice. So these can provide engaging ways to educate the public about the importance of forest conservation and management. Next column, please. So we have consultation and involvement tools such as citizen panels and town hall meetings. So this provides forums for dialogues, which allow citizens to voice their opinions and contribute to decision-making processes. And then we have the more creative forms of engagements like forest walks or art contests. Basically, you can utilize the outputs of these kinds of events and transform them as well to community exhibits. And then you can also do interactive or immersive exhibits in museums or galleries, which are very good for very young audiences. And then next column, we have citizen science and volunteering opportunities. So these kinds of engagement tools are more hands-on. So if you want to do that with the communities, that's also nice. And then at the most integrated level, collaborative tools encourage a deeper partnership between communities and forestry initiatives. So for example, the woodland stewardship program. So these involve citizens directly in managing and developing the forests. We have community enterprise development. So we can basically provide training opportunities for communities, create businesses based on sustainable forest products. And this not only supports conservation efforts, but also provides economic benefits to the community. So these are just some examples in which we could engage citizens in our communities. And again, I would like to emphasize that engaging citizens requires a different approach versus stakeholders. No, so it should be more interactive, easy to understand, accessible to all community members. Because when we engage citizens, we want to demystify the forest concepts. We want to make them relatable and relevant to people's daily lives. So next slide, please. Yes. So we have an example here, which is the Bergwald project. So the Bergwald project fosters a sense of shared responsibility and environmental stewardship by involving volunteers in forest conservation activities. So this was initiated by an alpine club, a mountain forest club in Switzerland back in 1987. So what's truly inspiring about this initiative is the hands-on approach when it comes to forest restoration and management. So the way they engage citizens is by offering these volunteering opportunities for a week in the mountains. They provide training, and what you can see here in the photos are some of the examples of the activities that we do in the forest. So the photos I have from here was from a project week in Austria. So I spent some weeks in the mountain with the Mountain Forest Club. They provided some training on how to develop hiking trails, which was really nice. And then basically we spent a week in the mountains with the local forest owners, which provided us accommodation and food throughout the week. So the volunteers basically don't have to pay anything to participate in the program, which is really nice. And then at the end of the week, you get this certificate of participation. So next slide, please. So it's a nice example because it contributes to different sustainability goals. So it raises environmental awareness to the public. It helps maintain and protect mountain forests. It offers practical work experience to the public. And it also allows different stakeholders to meet. No? So we met some other interest groups, the forest owners, the local state authorities, as well as the media. So basically this project, they also invite the local broadcasting company to document the event to promote publicity and encourage other members of the local community to participate. So it's a very nice and simple way of engaging the public to join in hands-on activities. I think this is the last slide of my presentation. And yeah, thank you for listening. If you have any questions, we're happy to read them.